This is similar to a lot of photos I've posted recently, and I know it's not exactly the newest and most innovative photo in terms of overall composition, but I gotta be honest, I just really like taking these. There's a fun element to these. It's just enjoyable to take these types of photos. I think partially because there's an element of discovery and surprise. So when I was taking this, I came across this magnolia seed pod. No big deal. It didn't even look like that great of a photo opportunity. I mean, it's kind of like dull and lifeless, and it didn't strike me as something that would be an amazing photo. But I pulled out my camera and I took a few shots anyway. And then as I looked around it, I started to notice that, wait a second, I can make this a more interesting photo. And that theme has shown up on Weekly 50 several times recently, where I've had a photo that didn't seem all that great, and then I started looking at it in a different angle or under a different light, and sure enough, it turns into a great photo. And that's exactly what happened here. I only noticed that this would make an interesting photo when I held my camera up, I think at my D500, and I used live view, and suddenly the background sort of came alive, because in the viewfinder, in the optical viewfinder, you don't see all of the rendering of the background like you do here. You just see I don't know, it's almost like everything is in focus a little bit. And on the live view, you get to see the photo as it actually appears. And when I noticed that, or when I did that, I started to notice that there was all these bright spots in the background. And so it was almost like a diamond in the rough situation, where I didn't think this would be an interesting photo, and then it transformed into a really interesting photo. And it's really fun to be able to do that. And the positioning of everything is really intentional. I made sure that in the final composition that you see here, the magnolia seed pod is completely surrounded by the bright lights. And I had several versions of this, because I just ended up like firing a lot of different shots. I have several versions of this where it is not completely surrounded by white light. It intrudes on the dark green background just a little bit here and there. But in this one, it's totally surrounded, and it works out super well, and I really like it. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I encourage you to try this type of photo yourself, especially with a flower or something plant related, because the colors are just really neat. If it doesn't look like it's an interesting photo, move yourself around and play with your camera settings a little bit until you figure out a way to actually make it a much better photo.